listening to the Faith and Friction Podcast with your hosts, Mac and the Rev. Welcome to the conversation.
Here we are once again, Rev. First week of the new year, man.
It's exciting. I'm on the precipice of a new me, a new world, I hope, and a new version of our podcast, maybe.
Yeah, I'm excited about this year. I think that we're going to talk about some stuff on this episode that's just perfect for the first week of the new year. And I'm excited about that because where it's going to take us from there.
At the beginning of any new year, there's new possibilities, new ideas. And then when we can enter into the new year with an open mind, an open heart, and an open spirit, man, I tell you, magic happens. And it's not just about making a commitment to get to the gym. It's about making a commitment to the inner work that can start at the new year, that our spirituality can go off to the wild blue yonder and go someplace where no one's ever gone before.
Here we are. There's some things that have been going on that we've been thinking about that will make a difference. And not only in our lives as we discuss them, I really do think that our listener, if they take some of this stuff to heart and apply it in their own life, challenge us with it, challenge themselves with it, and maybe even a little bit of challenging, I'm just going to use that word, others. And that's not negative. That's not beating people down. That's not...
Challenge can be as an attack or to tear down, or it can be as an open invitation to something different, something perhaps greater or better. I don't know. I know at the first of the year, I always do a little bit of examination about what needs to be released, what needs to be invited or embraced. And that's an okay thing because that's a sign of an evolving spirituality, an evolving life.
True.
What doesn't serve anymore that can be let go of, and that which is maybe needing to be entertained.
Once you do that, then you go back and do it again.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do at the beginning of the year. It's actually a great thing to do every day of your life.
Because you're going to come up with whatever answers you're going to come up with the first time you ask yourself those questions.
Yep.
And it's beautiful. But chances are, if you peel the onion back one more layer, some different answers and different challenges are going to come up. So we don't treat it as finite. It's an ongoing process.
So you're asking me for an evolving spirituality, an evolving relationship with the divine, an evolving relationship with the world.
Yes. And
I think that's what we're called to do. I think God doing business through us, around us, within us, and as us demands that.
That changes the world.
Yep.
If we'll do that, right? Yep. Collectively.
Yes.
Individually, of course, but then collectively, that collective energy, man, it makes a difference, right?
So I'm changing for greater good in my life. I want to change for greater good in your life.
Thank you.
Everybody who happens to be listening, I want a better world for you.
Thank you. Okay. And the same to our listeners, without a doubt, right?
Yep.
So we talked about this term 2 years ago, and I think it's a beautiful perspective, and that's this. In 2026, as we move forward, let's go to the other side, man. Okay? Let's go to the other side of our thinking. Let's go to the other side of our faith. Let's go to the other side of our theology. Let's go to the other side of our relationship. Let's go
to the other side of ourselves.
Yeah, we're multi-layered, right? So let's make the commitment that we're going to journey, we're going to venture over there, all right? Here's what came to my mind when I was thinking about this. Why'd the chicken cross the road? Remember, and what's the typical answer?
To get to the other side.
To get to the other side. Okay, now let's go one step further. Why?
Yeah.
Why did he want to go to the other side?
He must have understood that there was something of value on the other side.
That's right. Now, it doesn't come without risk. And I got a couple examples about that, but that's the way it works. Because you're never going to experience the other side unless you go there and you overcome whatever
And
obstacles.
what is the mindset as I cross the road? Whatever it might be metaphorically.
Right.
I'm afraid of what's on the other side, or then I probably don't ever cross the road. But I have an expectation and a passion and an excitement that there's something for me there on the other side. So I'm going to take the risk to cross traffic.
As chicken crosses the road, there could be somebody jogging down that road, and there could be a bit of uncomfortableness. But a jogger going down the road That is a life-threatening. That's you get out of the way.
Here comes a semi.
That's what I'm saying. It might be somebody on a bicycle next. A bit more dangerous. How about somebody on a motorcycle, in a car, and a semi? I mean, there's all these risks that you take to go to the other side. But I think what we're going to do in this conversation, this podcast, from here on out, is to embrace that friction, because every single one of those things has friction, or they wouldn't be traveling down the road.
And we'll do it consciously. What were you taught about crossing the road as a child? Stop, look, and listen. So it's causing us to be aware, conscious, aware, and paying attention as you cross the road. You don't do this willy-nilly. You do it with an intentional heart and a hero's heart and courage.
Yes, I love that's a great word. We had talked about that word today already, but I'm glad you brought that up. Going to the other side and opening up some of the stuff we're going to talk about, it's going to take courage.
It does take. All right. It takes guts, courage, and strength.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All qualities of the God doing business as creation.
I want some of that, right? Yep. You want to look at each other and say, I want some of that, all right? So here's some new perspectives that we're adopting, per se.
We're leaning into them.
Okay, this isn't something completely foreign, but I'm just going to go down what we've already discussed. So anyway, we're excited about and how we're going to handle this conversation and how we interact with our listeners. So
it's a stretch. Spiritual yoga.
There we are. Okay. All right. So on this podcast, we will approach debate, perspectives, and challenges on faith with a certain ethos: charity, love, respect, and grace toward people we believe are well-intentioned, but misguided.
So again, the mindset, we're examining a mindset, compassion and understanding with an intention of greater capacity to be together as one in love.
Yes, exactly. So it's our calling as teachers, sages, and intellectuals to dissect those ideas, show them for their error or their merit. And we're going to give it all.
Dissecting is a spiritual practice. It's an important practice to just take it apart and then put it back together. With that idea, I mentioned earlier that my son, Casey, loved to take things apart.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'd put them back together just the way he'd taken them apart. And sometimes he'd do it a little differently and it would run better. The clock or the watch that he would play with.
See, there's great wisdom there.
Yep.
And what about so anyway, show them for their error or merit. Caution against blind acceptance. That gets us in trouble a lot of times. And to illustrate how damaging and destructive they can be. Mm-hmm. We're going to point that out. There's the friction.
There are things that I inherited from my grandparents and great-grandparents that I saw at one point. This is damaging, not only the culture of my family, but the culture of my city, my environment, and the culture of humanity. And racism has gotten passed down, as an example, through generation to generation. And we just do it because that's what we've always believed. There comes a point when we have to, when it comes to race, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to politics, when it comes to anything, you get to be the one who creates the friction that says there might be a different way or a better way.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. I'm going to that other side, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's the friction, right? All right, so let's see.
But it's not just about dissecting. It's about affirming.
Yes. Yes. There's and or, both and, all of it together. Without affirmation, then it's just beating somebody up. Affirm those things that, as we look at each other's lives or our own life, and say, okay, that's pretty good, man. We'll go with that.
See, questioning for the sake of questioning is a waste of time. Tearing something or dissecting something, of taking it apart just for the purpose of taking it apart, that's half the equation. You have to rebuild, to reconstruct, to build a better model. That is a really valid and honorable intention.
Let's see. Let's go back a little bit. Let's see. To dissect those ideas, show them for their error or their merit, caution against blind acceptance, and illustrate how damaging and destructive they can be with every bit of evidence, reasoning, and humility we can muster. We will also seek to affirm sincere differences and or agreement that offer new ideas that might benefit everyone. We can unearth all kinds of stuff by dissecting and working through it. So that's the approach we're going to take.
And it's bringing all aspects of us to that dissection process. Our head, it's reasoning. Take your heart. I said this on Sunday. Follow your heart, but for God's sake, take your brain.
Take your
Follow
brain
your
with it.
brain, but for God's sake, take your heart. Follow both of them, but for God's sake, take your spirit, which can make no sense to either one, but leads us to the evolution that we're seeking. Take your God essence with you to the equation and be open and humble and teachable.
Yeah, we have it already, like we've talked about many times. It's in us.
We have it, but do we
It's
shut it down? Do we shut down an aspect out of fear, one part or the other?
Yeah, absolutely. We do. So let's start to go. 2026, as I said before, we're going to start to go to the other side of our faith, which has ripple effects in all sorts of ways. We're going to talk about more about faith in this episode. And let's look to initiate maybe what we'll call a new renaissance, a new awakening, a new way to look at things. That we set that intention for change. And at the end of that intention, say, or better.
Yeah.
How about or better? So that it doesn't become finite to what we can envision and we can see. I love adding the or better because now the universe comes in and goes, there's probably a little better there. Okay, let me come alongside of you and we'll do it together and
Serve as
better.
midwives, doulas for each other. That's what Renaissance is, a rebirth. Let's serve as midwives for each other as you birth a new understanding of yourself and of the world.
Okay, doula. I like that. We're going to start using that word. So here's something out of the Bible. We're going to tweak it just a little bit, but the message is there, and it's a beautiful message. So if we have an evolving world, do we?
I believe so.
Okay, so if we have one, we need new wineskins. As what are we carrying it around in? If we have an evolving world, then we need something new to handle that evolution.
Sure, a new container, a new
Sure.
consciousness. New
Need-
ideas are being espoused every day.
That's
New
right.
truths are being revealed every day. New understandings. And if we try to keep them and cram them into an old belief system or an old box that is too narrow to hold it, it's going to leak out. It's going to spill out or it'll get spoiled.
Wasted or spoiled.
Yeah.
So if we have an evolving world, we need new wineskins. Guess what? We have an evolving world.
Yep.
So listeners, on you can connect those dots.
I think sometimes science has just blown religion out of the water because it is evolving. By design, science evolves. Spirituality hasn't kept up because it can be a closed system. It can be an old wineskin that isn't willing to stretch or to challenge.
And who said those words? Who encouraged us?
My way shower, my elder brother, my great teacher that I follow, Jesus said
He
this.
knew it. All right, this is the way it works. And he came on the scene to go to the other side. He did. So
He brought new wine into an environment that was closed and challenged it.
yes, he did. And that's what I think I'd like to do. We'd like to do moving forward and encouraging all of our listeners to do as well.
Does that in itself, by being willing to follow that example, honor him?
Yes.
More so than keeping a closed system.
Yes.
I believe yes.
Absolutely.
I believe he would say, do more, stretch more, and consider more. This is what I did, follow my example, which is how I read the Bible. He asked me to follow him.
Follow me. Yep. So how are we going to do this? How should we approach it? Let's wrestle with, let's expound on, let's just share maybe some ways to go about this, to go to the other side and to put new wineskins in new ideas, not even old ideas. Let's go. We have new thinking. It needs to go into a new container. So obviously we've already said this. We got to think differently, right? We have got to start. We talk about this all the time. You got to think differently. You need to be open-minded instead of immovable. You just use those words. We tend to use the word stakes in the ground, but we've got our stakes in the ground.
And
So
they
we-
are deep.
Yeah.
And they are entrenched and they're immovable.
That's it. And so we get stuck. And it doesn't mean we don't need grounding. It doesn't mean we don't need solid foundations underneath
No,
us.
it's a both and reality.
Yeah.
I'm grounded. I'm anchored to something that has changed my life for the better, but I'm also not so stuck, glued to it that I don't cross the road to the other side and go, oh, wait, there's more. It's a whole intersection of good. It's not just one corner.
And even for some of us, we need to consider the possibility of maybe pulling up some of those stakes still. What served me as grounding wherever I was at in my consciousness or my journey or my evolution That was great. That anchored me in that time and in that place. But I think we got to get our minds shifted to say, the stakes that are in the ground that I've planted in the past, can I consider that maybe some of them need to be pulled?
Yeah.
And now we need to move them here and reestablish and evolve.
A lot of the things that I learned in the Methodist Church and that I've learned in the Presbyterian Church and I've learned in Buddhist organizations and in the Unity Church were wonderful stepping stones.
Right.
Will forever bless my life and forever have value. But if I just stop on that stepping stone and don't take the next step, then they're a landing pad, they're a plateau, and they can become stagnant. They are necessary components to the life I am building and to the world that we are building. So building blocks, stepping stones, however you want to look at it, it doesn't mean it's bad by dissecting it. It's thank you for where I have been. Thank you for what I have learned, propelling me forward into greater understanding of what this universe is all about and what God is.
That raises your consciousness, and therefore it has its huge ripple effect. But at the same time, as we do this dissecting, as we think differently, we might come to a revelation and a realization that some of those beliefs might be outdated, probably, right? And they might be harmful, that I've never looked at it that way.
They might be old wineskin that's damaging the new information.
Right.
So it got me here, but now I need to set it down. We used the analogy before of you're riding a log across the river. It got you across the river. You don't pick it up and now walk with that huge log for the rest of your journey. It served its purpose.
Right.
It needs to be sat down. Again, we're at the precipice of a new year. Things need to be let go of. Things need to be changed or looked at differently so that I can continue to travel.
Yeah, or
it won't. It becomes an encumbrance or an anchor.
To pick up on your example, I was envisioning to the other side as we've done it. Then there's lots of ways you can picture this. There's a bridge, there's a boat, there's a this, there's a that. But what came to my mind was a longer log across a stream. Let's just picture that in our mind. You go into the forest, you go hiking, you go camping. I can remember when I had a full pack on my back and I'm trying to navigate across it. So let's picture this. And now I'm going to the other side on this and I'm balancing myself on this. I'm trying to walk across. Guess what might happen? I might fall off the log. No, I'm not going to die from it. I'm going to fall into the stream. I'm going to get wet. It's going to be inconvenient. But you know what? That's part of the journey. You've got to be willing to risk that you might fall, you might get wet.
And we're afraid of that. I tell you, when I have gone hiking and I've been on a log and fallen into that cold water, it's a wake-up call.
Wow.
And I think some of us are afraid of the wake-up call.
Yes. There's fear. There's the fear factor that's there. Let's go back to courage.
Yeah.
You got to have the courage to step up there and walk across. Now, another component that will make that journey across better, maybe easier, more joyful is that who went first? Somebody's got to go first.
Yeah.
And now that person's on the other side. They went there. And what are they doing? Come on.
They're coaching you.
Yeah.
Look, this is the things I've learned as I made this journey. And they may have fallen in. So be careful at that point, at that juncture. You listen to them. And if you don't listen to them, you're going to have the same fault. There's wisdom based on somebody else's journey.
Absolutely. Yes. So what we're talking about here is not a lone wolf thing. Nope. Yes, you do have some introspection, but at the end of the day, these wineskins are shared. These wineskins are for everyone. The whole evolution that's coming is for all of us. It's not
We're
something
in this together. And I can benefit from your perspective and your wisdom for where you have journeyed that I haven't gone yet. You're going to help me know there's a semi coming as I cross the road to the other side and what to look out for. You're going to remind me to stop, look, listen, pay attention.
Yes.
And when I shut that down, oh no, that's different than what I believe on this side of the road. I'm never going to get there. We're in this journey together.
Yes. It's so important that we go on this thing together. So here's the deal. As we're doing this, as we're going to the other side, do we look at it like it's a Jenga game, or at the Jenga tower,
I love
where
that game.
You start pulling these little things out, the foundational, the ideas, doesn't even have to be the ones on the bottom. you're pulling stuff out to what do you do with that? Are you going to risk that some of that tower might need to come down, right? Because as you pull pieces out, some other stuff may be tied to that may also need to go away that you haven't even been paying attention to. So is part of the deal the whole tower needs to come down? That's a scenario. How about if it's just a kitchen remodel? We're going to keep the structure. We're going to keep all the windows or maybe stay in place, whatever it might be. We're going to replace the refrigerator, but we're going to do an upgrade, right? We're going to just be able to say to ourselves in our faith, in our theology, in our life, maybe there's just some things now that we need to do differently, that we need to have not only look differently, but act differently, that gives us a different view and ability.
Be structurally more sound at the end of the journey, because I did deconstruct it and rebuild it. It will be stronger.
Yes.
It will be cleaner. It will be better. It will be newer. It will be fresher.
Yes. And we'll be able to use it differently, better, like it was like technology. But we are talking about theological things here. Let's make sure that we make that clear, that there's all kinds of ways you can apply everything we're talking about. But in general, our belief is that there's a theological renaissance that is happening and that needs to happen.
And it's going to confront our attachment to form as opposed to content. It's the container versus the substance. And I think spirituality, when we get to this place, we have to look at the substance and not be so attached that it has to be formed a certain way. If I'm attached to the old kitchen the way it looks, I'll never get the new kitchen.
Because it's going to look the same way.
It's got the same components, the same materials, maybe some newer materials added to it.
Yeah.
But the substance is, when it comes to my spirituality, I'm anchored. I am. My stake in the ground is to the substance of love and compassion, which is our intent. But it's going to take different forms. Right. It's going to take different teachers, different people I'm going to listen to. So it's going to morph. The container is going to move. And I think there's a lot of people that are so concerned with the container that they're missing the substance itself.
Theologically, when you start, it's not about exercising. It's not about changing your diet. It's not about all these New Year's resolutions that we can always all make. We're talking about some really core issues here that it's time for. We really believe that if some of our theology doesn't get an upgrade, then we're going to end up in the same place that we are 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's time for what we talked about before, a renaissance. We have to start looking at our dogma, at the way we look at theo, with the way we look at God, and we've talked about this in a previous episode
Renaissance, rebirth. My Christianity was founded upon being born again, born anew. And many times in my life, I'll make it personal. I was not willing to be born anew with a new idea. There was no Renaissance. There was no rebirth. Born of Spirit. Spirit is ever expanding. There's like ripples that are going out and out. But I stopped being born again. It's not a moment decision. Okay, now I'm good. It's a moment-to-moment, everyday experience and willingness to be born again. That's what Renaissance is.
Yes. And I think from a theological standpoint, if you want to call it that, talk about the Spirit of God, the wind that blows, exactly what you were talking about, it's uncontrollable. It blows where it will.
Yeah, but there's a song I like to sing. The winds of God are blowing. Unfurl your sails. So it's going to blow where it's going to blow. But you can direct your sails to go to some place where no man or woman's ever gone before. You can capture the wind. And I believe that's what God's commandment is of us, just to capture me, to hold me, to use the wind that's blowing in the direction of the highest good. But you don't direct your sails, you're fighting the current, you're fighting the wind, and you're never going to get there. You're going to sink your boat.
Well, and you're never going to see anything differently or different. You can't see what's over the horizon unless you set the sail in the right direction.
I'm happy with the shore I'm seeing right now, but you might be missing. So it's crossing the street, crossing to a new continent, across the ocean of possibilities. I believe Spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, wants us to expand.
We as a society, as a culture, as people of belief, of spirituality, let's make 2026 the year that we start going to that other side. Encourage.
Put up your sails and join us in 2026 to a new horizon, a new idea, a new possibility.
Yes.
With the substance going with you, the substance of truth, capital T truth, but it's going to change its form.
Isn't that great?
Its location.
Don't we want some of that? Or it ends up being stale, or the undergrowth becomes the overgrowth. You can't stay there without having a negative effect typically.
I love ritual. I happen to love ritual. But
Well,
ritual, for ritual's sake, becomes stagnant and stale. It's a new mind. Bring on a new mind. I think Paul talked about bringing on the new consciousness.
That's right.
The
The Christ consciousness. This is exactly what we need to keep evolving in ourselves. And we want to encourage everyone. We're going to do it for ourselves. We want to encourage everybody out there to come with us, to begin these ponderings, to begin these conversations. And is it radical? Absolutely.
In many of my
needs to
circles,
be.
it is.
It needs to be radical. Should it go to a place of extremism? No. Jesus was the biggest radical going, right?
Of course.
But he didn't take it to a place of extremism to where he was willy-nilly and he was so far off the reservation that nobody was paying attention.
Yeah.
And we need to adopt the same. Let's become radicals. Let's become more radical this year to evaluate how we look at God, our theology, the way it practices, the way that it affects everything. And I think we'll be surprised by some of that dissecting. And then at the same time, how exciting is it going to be to say, what new wine can we put in this wineskin?
Jed, you were talking, one of those Sufi mystics, I don't know which one said it, something, we prayed to God for our cage to stop being rattled, only to realize that it was God that was rattling our cage. The divine discontent is moving us. And I think 2026, I'm feeling it. All that's happening politically, religiously, on the planet, economically, is the cage is being rattled. I believe the universe is shaking us awake. And those who are willing to know that there's greater good, collectively and individually, will confront their fears, will let their knees knock and cross, listening to each other to the other side of the river, the road, whatever it is.
Yes. Let's overcome the fears. Let's have courage and let's go in 2026 to the other side. You with me on that, man?
I'm ready.
All right, everyone.
I'm already halfway across the street.
Just watch out for the semi. They're really good. This is a great jumping off point for this year. We're going to continue to have conversations that just expound upon this, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad you're going with me on it, man. Thank you.
Hold my hand.
All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.